Continuing our discussion of world religions, we come to Judaism, which is Module 3, Lesson 5. Judaism is a relatively small religion compared to the other ones that have been discussed so far and will be discussed later. With Judaism, it's mainly located in the modern-day country of Israel, which is located right here on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea.
I just want you to know that I'm having a wonderful time.
So our objective is to summarize the history and beliefs of the ancient Hebrews. Again, Judaism is the religion that is practiced by Jewish people. Hebrew is a language and an ethnic group which most Jews belong to. Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great. This comes, of course, from the book of Genesis in the Torah and the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. Origins of Judaism centers around the covenant between God and Abraham. A covenant is a mutual promise. This was a deal that was made. God promises to protect Abraham and for him to have children and for his family to multiply and to protect those descendants. Abraham, in return, promises to obey God. This type of deal is common throughout Judaism and it plays a fundamental role in later religions like Christianity and Islam. Here we've got Abraham being asked to sacrifice his son and an angel stopping him right before he was going to do that. Abraham was a Mesopotamian shepherd from Ur, which is one of the main cities in the ancient Fertile Crescent there. He is considered the father of the Hebrew people. If you're going to look for a founder figure for Judaism, it is certainly Abraham. He follows God's command and he moves his family to the region of Canaan. This is the land that God promised Hebrews according to the traditions of the Torah. So on this map here, you can see where Mesopotamia was located, and you can see where Canaan is located as well. And so that's where the movement happened. Core beliefs of Judaism: monotheistic, you pray to one God, Yahweh. God has power over all peoples everywhere. God is omnipotent. God is not a physical being.
Moses, this is the Lord thy God, commanding you to obey my law. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. A deaf man could hear you.
What?
It's not like in Hinduism where you've got, beings like Vishnu that take on human form. The Ten Commandments serve as the civil and religious laws of Judaism as well. So that is a core point. The book of Exodus also makes up the Torah. Hebrews left Canaan, most likely because of a drought. And that's told in the book of Exodus. They settle in Egypt, where, according to tradition, they were honored at first, but then later enslaved by the Egyptian pharaoh. The Bible explains that God commanded Moses to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt somewhere between 1300 and 1200 BCE. The story of Moses is important because Moses then makes a new covenant when he receives the Ten Commandments from God. So the story of Exodus has been retold many times. One of the more famous claims is that Moses with the help of God, was able to part the Red Sea to allow the Hebrews to escape from Egypt.
Hear me! Oh, hear me! All pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 10 commandments for all to obey.
So the Ten Commandments do form an important part of Jewish legal tradition. They also form an important basis in both Christianity and Islam, and this really reflects the way in which these three religions share its origins. That's why sometimes these religions are called the Abrahamic faiths, after the father of Judaism, Abraham. Now, these 10 rules basically get across the main ideas, the fact that the religion is monotheistic, that you can only worship the one God, Yahweh, if you're going to be a member of this particular faith, and also some of the moral and religious duties of every person of faith.
Just kidding.
Tradition has it that the original 10 Commandments were kept in the Ark of the Covenant here. So the sacred writings, the Hebrew Bible, are made up of several things. The Torah is the first 5 books. It really recounts the stories of how humanity and Judaism itself began as a religion. It contains the basic laws of Judaism, like the 10 Commandments. Tradition holds that the first 5 books were written by Moses. Prophets. These are stories about and written by a variety of Jewish teachers after Moses. It's divided into former and latter prophets, which, again, roughly corresponds to some time periods here. It recounts Jewish history, and a common theme throughout all of these writings is calls for repentance and obedience to God. Copies of the Torah are incredibly important in Jewish services. Many are incredibly old and so can only be touched with styluses like that. Other writings, though, are important. These are, a variety of different types of religious writings. These included poems, history and stories, and some philosophical writings, which is called wisdom literature.
I shall give you my laws, and you shall take them unto the people.
Yes, Lord!
The sacred writings continued. You have the Talmud, which is kind of divided into 2 parts. The Mishnah, which was the written version of Jewish oral law. So for centuries, Jewish law was just spoken, and eventually, when it was committed to writing, you had the Mishnah. And the Gemara was the explanation and interpretations of the Mishnah by various Jewish scholars throughout time. So that makes up the main sort of legal text within the Jewish tradition. And really, with the Talmud and the Torah, you've got the main writings of Judaism.